And this has been in the news. This is ABC News Online. U.S. military wanted to provoke war with Cuba. There's one article right there. You have another one here. New book on NSA sheds light on secrets. U.S. terror plan called for Cuba invasion pretext. This was in the Baltimore Sun. And then there are other websites. This is just two other websites. This is just two of the articles that I've looked at. Like I said, there are other websites that have this information on it. Wikipedia has it on there. They don't even hide it. This is an operation that's been declassified. It was classified. It's considered unclassified now, and you can actually download the PDF of this document. Operation Northwoods PDF. Download it. Read it for yourself. It's only 15 pages, and some of it's a very easy read. It's anybody can understand this. So, just getting into it here, this was something, like I said, that was submitted in 1962. This is almost 50 years ago. And it's one thing for me to tell you this, but allow me to read some of the statements from the document here, what they want to do. All right, it says here, as requested by Chief of Operations, Cuba Project, the Joint Chiefs of Staff are to indicate brief but precise description of pretext which they consider would provide justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. And it goes on. It is recognized that any action which becomes pretext for U.S. military intervention in Cuba will lead to a political decision, then it will lead to a military decision. So they're telling you flat out, we were coming up with pretexts to invade Cuba. And it goes on here, and they give examples here of what they want to do. Just thumbing through it here, they have a whole pile of examples here of what they were going to do. They were going to initially start rumors, a disinformation campaign so that, hey, Cuba might be doing something, they might be ready to attack us, start rumors. They were going to look at lobbing mortar shells, I'm reading right off the sheet here, folks, lobbing mortar shells outside and inside the base to damage the installation at Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay was a target. They were going to attack and sink ships in the harbor at Guantanamo Bay. They were going to sabotage and blow up aircraft. They were going to use friendly Cubans to stage riots and protests. And basically, they were going to attack themselves. The military was going to attack Guantanamo, and of course, it was going to be blamed on Cuba. So they had various versions of this. One incident they were going to come up with was a Remember the Maine incident. Now, if you remember back, a little over 100 years ago, Spanish-American War. That was what started the war, was the explosion that took place on board the USS Maine, which was docked in Havana at the time. Now, there's a tiny, tiny chance that that was an accident. There may have been an explosion on board that was an accident, but it's highly unlikely. Because who benefited from that? Well, as soon as that happened, we invaded, kicked them out, and we took over Cuba. So it's extremely highly likely that the incident on the Maine was not the Spanish, but that it was either an accident that was allowed to happen, or it was deliberately set off. And of course, countless Americans die in the process. Okay, covering more examples of the crazy ideas they had in Operation Northwoods here. And this is kind of a scary one, honestly. This is the one that really bothers me. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read to you exactly what it says here. We could develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington, D.C. So right there, you have the Pentagon admitting, yes, we're going to set up a fake terrorist group. Does that sound familiar? Al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda? That's what that is, okay? And they were going to attack Americans in Florida and in Washington. We're talking about, whether bombing, shooting, killing, whatever it is, American citizens, killing or wounding them, blaming it on Cubans, and that's our pretext to go to war. Or one of the pretexts. You know, they would probably do a series of these types of events. It wouldn't just be one thing. They'd have a number of these that they would use over time to build up the support for going after Cuba. This is crazy. You know, there's further examples here where they were going to fake the shooting down of a U.S. fighter jet, where they were going to go on a training mission. You know, they'd send these planes out on a training mission. They go near Cuba. The plane at the end of the line would fall back and would issue a mayday. Hey, I'm being attacked by MiGs, and that would be a radio silence. He'd drop down below radar, fly back to base, and a sub was going to rendezvous at that point and release aircraft parts and whatever would float probably to the surface, so that when the rescue plane comes out there, they see what's left of the plane and it looks real to them. And see, that's the thing. This is compartmentalized. Not everybody's in on this. It's not like the whole government's doing this. You're only talking about a small element within the Pentagon or the government that does this. So the search and rescue guys go out there, they think it's real. That's how that works. That's what makes it credible. You know? Another example is they were going to hijack civilian aircraft by remote control and blow them up. Hijacking airplanes, does that sound familiar? Well, it should. You know, they were going to bring in another government plane, probably a CIA plane, same model as the charter plane that they were going to use, and put American passengers on it, students, you know, flying to some place like Jamaica or Venezuela that would take them over Cuban airspace. So they get on board the fake plane with the fake tail numbers. They take off, rendezvous with the real plane. The real plane picks up the course, is flown over Cuban airspace, and, you know, by remote control, a mayday is issued, and then it is detonated and blown up. And then, of course, the government plane, or the clone plane, if you will, flies back to, you know, an undisclosed location, releases the, you know, phony passengers, and they're on their way. But that would be an example where people didn't actually die, but it was made to look like they died. And these are the kind of schemes that that they were coming up with. So, and I haven't covered them all here. There's actually more, but this is the kind of thing that governments do. This is mass manipulation. This is mass deception. That's why I'm telling people about this, because it affects your life. The underwear bomber, you know, tries to blow himself up, and the next thing you know, you've got naked body scanners in the airports, blasting people with radiation, and TSA agents sticking their hands down your pants. So if you don't like that, it helps to know this, because these are the phony pretexts that they're engineering in order to do those things. That's what you need to understand here. That's why I get excited about this, because this affects people's lives. You know, we send people to war and they die because of this. You got a friend or a relative in the military, do you want them going to war over an event that was staged and that's fake to achieve somebody's, you know, bogus political agenda? I don't think so. So I encourage you to, you know, do your research on your own. Check this information out. You know, Operation Northwoods, a good documentary here that I'm going to put in a plug for. An Alex Jones film, Terror Storm. This was done in 2007. Excellent documentary. It does a way better job than I ever could. And it goes into some detail on a number of historical examples, of documented examples of where this has been done, including the, you know, the 7/7 bombings in London, 9/11, and numerous others. It's quite amazing. So that's Terror Storm. It can be found on Infowars.com. And I encourage you to do your own research, check these things out for yourself. And like I said, we'll be covering more on these in the future. So I want to thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time.